Imagine being dropped into a wall of green, so thick you cannot see 10 feet in any direction. The heat presses down on you like a wet blanket you cannot take off. Insects you cannot name crawl across your face, and you do not move, because somewhere out there in the shadows, deep in this jungle, an instructor who knows every root, every creek, and every sound this forest makes is watching to see if you break. This is not a punishment. This is not a mistake. This is one of the most respected military training programs on the planet, and the soldiers who earn a seat in it consider it one of the greatest privileges of their careers. The United States Army sends some of its finest fighters here deep into the Philippine jungle to learn what no classroom, no desert range, and no simulation can ever truly teach. What happens inside this course changes the way a soldier thinks, moves, breathes, and survives forever. To understand why American soldiers travel to the Philippines for this training, you have to go back to the early 1950s, when the Philippine Islands were gripped by a growing insurgency known as the Hukbalahap Rebellion. Leftist guerrilla fighters, seasoned, patient, and deeply connected to land, had mastered the art of jungle warfare. They used the dense Philippine forest as both a shield and a weapon. Conventional military operations failed time and again to root them out. The jungle simply swallowed standard formations whole. The Philippine military, working alongside American advisors, reached a hard and honest conclusion. The only way to fight an enemy that lives in the jungle is to build soldiers who are more dangerous in that jungle than the enemy could ever hope to be. That conclusion changed everything. On November 25, 1950, the Philippine Scout Rangers were born. Modeled partly after the American Alamo Scouts and the U.S. Army Rangers, the 1st Scout Ranger Regiment was established under command of then Captain Rafael Aledo. But these were not ordinary soldiers handed an extra set of push-ups and a new beret. They were a force designed from the ground up around one singular, uncompromising purpose: to pursue, survive, track, and operate in jungle terrain that would defeat any other fighting unit on Earth. Within just a few years, the Scout Rangers had driven the Hukbalahap guerrillas to near collapse. They did not just win battles. They proved something far more important: that the jungle itself could be turned into a weapon if you knew how to use it. Decades passed. The Scout Rangers did not rest on what they had built. They fought Moro separatists in the southern Philippines. They pursued communist insurgent cells through the mountains of Luzon. They operated in terrain that most armies would simply declare impassable and walk away from. Every campaign deepened their knowledge of the land. Every operation sharpened their tactics. Every year refined a training doctrine that was now unlike anything else on Earth. And then, as American military planners turned their full strategic attention to the Indo-Pacific, the answer to one critical question became obvious. If you want your soldiers ready to fight in the jungles of the Pacific, there is one place you send them, one place, and one force you learn from. Today, that training is formalized under a program called the Jungle Operations Training Course, the JOTC. American soldiers from a 25th Infantry Division, known as Tropic Lightning, based out of Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, participate in this course regularly alongside their Philippine counterparts. Now, the 25th Infantry Division has its own jungle training in Hawaii, but experienced instructors are clear: Hawaii is a secondary jungle environment. The Philippine jungle is something else entirely, and every American soldier who steps off the transport and enters Camp Tecson in San Miguel, Bulacan, understands that difference the moment the canopy closes over their heads. This is not Hawaii. This is a real thing. Camp Tecson sits in Bulacan Province on the main Philippine island of Luzon, home of the 1st Scout Ranger Regiment. The American soldiers who arrive here are not tourists. They come with weapons, with gear, and with one clear expectation: that the next 10 to 12 days will push them to the outer edges of their physical and mental endurance. The Philippine instructors do not ease anyone into it. There is no warm-up week. There is no grace period for jet lag. From the first morning formation, when the sun has barely touched the jungle canopy above, the tempo is relentless, and it does not stop. To understand why Filipino instructors carry the authority they do, you need to understand what they survived to get here. The full Scout Ranger qualification course runs 10 months. 10 months. Of every 100 candidates who begin, only 20 to 30 complete it. before the main course even starts. Candidates must pass a fitness test that would challenge elite athletes in any country. 50 push-ups, 60 sit-ups, 10 pull-ups, a 2-mile run in full battle gear. Morning runs begin at 5 kilometers and escalate to over 21 kilometers while carrying a 20-kilogram rucksack and a rifle. The men who survive that process, who make it through 10 months of deliberate, unrelenting pressure, are the same men now standing in front of American soldiers at Camp Tecson. They earn the right to teach. The JOTC curriculum begins with what sounds simple, but is anything but jungle mobility. That means learning to move through dense vegetation quietly, efficiently, without giving away your position to anything or anyone that might be listening. Then comes combat tracking. And for most American soldiers trained in open terrain, this is where things get unfamiliar. In the Philippine jungle, visibility can collapse to just a few feet. The technology that works brilliantly in a desert or open field, infrared sensors, thermal imaging, becomes far less reliable in the wall of heat and biomass surrounding you. Out here, tracking an adversary means reading the land with your eyes, not a screen, your eyes, and everything your instructors have taught you to see. Waterborne operations form another critical layer of the course, and in this part of the world, that is not optional preparation. The Philippine archipelago is made up of over 7,000 islands. Any realistic military scenario in the Indo-Pacific will involve water, coastal approaches, island crossings, ship-to-shore maneuvers followed immediately by operations in dense jungle terrain. American soldiers train here on exactly those transitions, emerging from a river or from the ocean, in full combat kit, managing soaked equipment, maintaining tactical readiness when everything they carry is heavy with water, because when the mission starts, the jungle does not wait for your gear to dry, and neither does the enemy. Waterborne operations form another critical layer of the course, and in this part of the world, that is not optional preparation. The Philippine archipelago is made up of over 7,000 islands. Any realistic military scenario in the Indo-Pacific will involve water, coastal approaches, island crossings, ship-to-shore maneuvers followed immediately by operations in dense jungle terrain. American soldiers train here on exactly those transitions, emerging from a river or from the ocean, in full combat kit, dry, and neither does the enemy. And then comes the part of the course that American soldiers talk about long after they leave. Jungle survival, taught by Filipino experts whose knowledge does not come from a manual. It comes from generations of lived experience in these specific forests. Soldiers learn how to source clean water from bamboo without a filter, how to identify which plants provide food and which ones will put you in a hospital, how to construct effective shelters from the materials the jungle provides, because the jungle provides everything if you know where to look. This is knowledge that was refined not in a laboratory, but across decades of real operations in this exact terrain. And it cannot be replicated anywhere else on Earth. You have to come here. You have to learn it from the people who live it. The hand-to-hand combat training embedded in the JOTC course introduces American soldiers to something they do not expect. Pekiti Tirsia Kali, the official combative system of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, one of the oldest and most comprehensive weapons-based martial traditions in all of Southeast Asia. It integrates the BOLO knife, the machete, the bayonet, and empty-hand techniques into a single, seamless system, where most Western military combatives focus primarily on unarmed grappling. Pekiti Tirsia Kali assumes that a weapon is almost always present, and it trains the soldier accordingly. For American fighters encountering it for the first time, it is a revelation, a combat philosophy built from the ground up for exactly this environment. Close quarters, dense terrain, no room to miss. Then comes the dark. Night fighting drills in the Philippine jungle do not simply test a soldier's ability to operate without light. They fundamentally recalibrate a soldier's relationship with darkness itself. Because the Philippine jungle at night is not merely dark. It is alive. It breathes. It produces sounds, movements, and sensations that an untrained soldier will immediately, involuntarily interpret as threats. Learning to operate with confidence and precision in that environment takes repeated exposure. It takes the kind of patient mentorship only experienced Scout Ranger instructors can provide. American soldiers who complete this phase describe it consistently as the turning point, the moment they stopped fearing the jungle and started thinking inside it. Everything leads to this, the culminating event, a multi-day field exercise that forces every participant to apply everything they have learned under conditions as close to real operations as the training environment allows. Teams move through the jungle, tracking simulated adversaries. They execute close-quarter scenarios in terrain that is actively working against them. They conduct waterborne transitions. They sustain themselves on reduced rations and minimal rest. The pressure is structured deliberately, not just to test physical limits, but to simulate the psychological weight of sustained operations in an environment that never stops pushing back. The soldiers who emerge from this event are not the same soldiers who walked into Camp Tecson. They are something else now. They are genuinely different. The broader framework that makes all of this possible is called the Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Center, an initiative from U.S. Army Pacific designed to establish combat-credible, combat-ready forces in the Indo-Pacific for at least 8 months of every single year. The Philippines is a critical node in that framework. The exercises that bring American, Philippine, and partner nation forces together here are growing in scale, in complexity, and in ambition. The annual battle-hardened exercise, which means shoulder to shoulder in Filipino, brought together approximately 9,000 American soldiers and 5,000 Philippine soldiers in its most recent iteration, one of the largest bilateral military exercises in the entire Indo-Pacific region, and it is still growing. The strategic motivation behind all of this cannot be separated from what is happening right now in the waters surrounding the Philippines. The South China Sea, which the Philippines calls the West Philippine Sea, has become one of the most contested bodies of water on Earth. China's territorial claims in the region conflict directly with Philippine sovereignty and with international maritime law. The friction between Beijing and Manila has only intensified. American military planners have made no secret of the fact that any future conflict in this region will be fought across a combination of islands, coastlines, and jungle terrain. Terrain that looks exactly like the training environment at Camp Tecson. This is not hypothetical preparation. This is deliberate readiness. What makes the U.S.-Philippine training relationship genuinely different from most military partnerships is that it operates in both directions. American soldiers do not simply arrive in the Philippines to receive what the Scout Rangers know. They bring their own capabilities, and the exchange is designed to make both forces more effective together. U.S. Army medics have conducted subject matter expert exchanges teaching Philippine Army soldiers advanced medical evacuation techniques, including helicopter hoist operations using the jungle penetrator, a specialized extraction device built for exactly the kind of terrain surrounding this base. Dense vegetation, no landing zone, no other way out. The Philippine soldiers take those skills home. The American soldiers return with something the Philippines gave them. It moves in both directions. Always, the foundation beneath all of this training is a relationship that is decades old. The United States and the Philippines share a mutual defense treaty, one of the cornerstone security arrangements in the Pacific. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement signed in 2014 deepened that relationship, granting American forces access to multiple Philippine military installations. That access has since been expanded because both governments recognize the same truth. A strong alliance practiced interoperable, tested in real environments, is the most credible form of deterrent available in this region. Not just a treaty on paper, a partnership built in the jungle, shoulder to shoulder, day after day. For the individual American soldiers who go through this course, the experience carries weight that no after-action report can fully capture. First Lieutenant Zachary Adams, named honor graduate of his JOTC class during the battle-hardened exercises, described it this way: it was genuinely eye-opening, not just in terms of the techniques taught, but in understanding how a force that has spent its entire existence operating in this specific environment approaches problems that no training manual on Earth fully captures. First Sergeant John Falls, addressing the graduating class, put the philosophy simply: a soldier must be prepared to fight any battle, on any terrain, at a moment's notice. Simple words, an extraordinary standard.